this guy's AR.
The EIO Tech.
The EIO Tech.
Heat-seeking night vision scope. It's a holographic sight. It's got a little dot with a big dot around it. You can never have too many bipods, is what Daddy always said. You're laying down, you're underneath the car, you're underneath the feed bunk, and you gotta lay on your side. You gotta have a bipod on this side.
Good God. Surefree
model here.
Surefire.
This one's halogen. It's a lead model. It's a real white lead. Got some grips on here. Some pogo grip mono. Molecular tactical pods going on here. You can use either sides. Chainsaw grip here, so she gets really going, you know, and try to hold on to her. Tactical mags here. You can pull it out, flip it over, stick it in real fast. I read on CNN. That's what them SEAL Team 6 boys did with the Taliban. They rolled up in there and just going through, just throwing lead down range. It's got some storage in it for round storage, so you can put meat snacks, Tootsie Pops, anything round and long in there. Might even get some Rolos in there. And for all those treats,
I think this guy is not serious.
Got some storage in here. I put my tactical treats in there, so when you get going real good, you get hungry, you just reach back, flip that open, get some tactical treats and flip some out for your buddies. Treats. Flip it shut for next time. Just keep going. Just slaying bodies. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. I don't think he's serious. Do you? Anyway, yeah, that's kind of what you get when you look for AR/AK online. All right, let's do this. Show me the gas tube on bingo. Show me the forward assist.
This guy here.
How about the...
Whoa, am I getting...
maybe. How about the... Which one has a gas piston?
This one here.
No, you were right the first time. This one has a gas piston. Which one has a bolt carrier? That's a trick question. They both have a bolt carrier.
That's why I was confused.
What are the main differences between the AR, the main difference in the way the operating system of the AR versus AK?
One. Back.
I think you're making stuff up. You're doing your shotgun approach to answers. One is a gas piston system, and one is a direct gas impingement system. But actually, you do know quite a bit about... Which one has a buffer tube?
This guy?
No.
This guy?
Yeah.
No. Okay. What is that thing there?
That's... What is that called? What is this called right here?
Gas thing.
Yeah, you're right. It's a gas block, and they both have one.
I was going to say gas stopper. But...
It's kind of a gas letter inner,
oh.
Not a gas stopper. Thanks, son. I appreciate your participation. So anyway, the obvious topic of this video is going to be AR/V AK, but not in the normal kind of wackiness that you see on online for it. The reason I'm making this video, I tried to do this last night, and I recorded 55 minutes talking about these two guns, and that is just way too long. So I want to trim it down a little bit tonight, and put a video out that is outside of my norm, which is usually commentary. And I want to thank everybody who's concerned about where I've been in the last couple months. The fact of the matter is my health has been absolutely fantastic, and because of that, I've been just really hitting the day job extremely hard. A lot of traveling. around the country, and I'm hoping by the end of June I'm back on track with commentary videos. It's my first love, my passion, doing 3 to 10 minute commentary videos, and anybody who's found this channel has probably found them because of the commentary video. But anybody who's followed this channel knows that I am I'm an avid shooter, and I want to make a video that is a basic 101 differences between the AR and the AK. Not that I have a preference over either one, but I think that there's a lack of information when you go online. I know that sounds incredible, and yes, there's a billion videos on ARs, there's a billion videos on AKs, but if you go out and try to find, let's say you know nothing about, I mean, let's face it, millions of people in our country have served in the military. And for all of you people, go ahead and turn this off, because we're going to cover some real basics on these weapons. But the majority of the people in this country have not served in the military and do not have extensive training on one of these platforms, and have absolutely no clue. Maybe their only exposure has been dad's hunting rifle or grandpa's shotgun or something along those lines, but they have no clue what the difference is between an assault rifle and a regular so-called sporting rifle, and then even further what the differences are between an AR platform or the Western platform or the former Soviet AK platform. What are the differences between these guns, and basically how do they operate? I mean, I'm one of those people that will see something like Modern Marvels on the History Channel, and I will spend an hour watching how a conveyor belt delivers ore out of a mine, and to me it's absolutely fascinating. So I'm assuming there's a lot of people that are in the same ilk that have no clue how these guns work, and what makes them assault rifles, and what makes them a valuable addition to, I believe, any home. And I'll start off by saying right from the get-go, everybody who knows me knows I'm a very, very strong Second Amendment supporter, and will do anything and everything in order to secure that freedom that we all enjoy. And to that end, I believe that every adult, everybody with a family, man, woman that has children or that wants to protect their family, it's almost incumbent upon you to learn how to defend yourself and your family. I can understand people hating guns. I can understand people hating violence. But at the end of the day, we all have responsibilities, and if we take those responsibilities and hand them to the government, we cannot sit back and blame that same government for stealing the same freedoms that you're so willing to hand over, or that many are willing to hand over to them. So that's the end of my political commentary for this video. Let's just talk about these guns. Sitting at 8 minutes, I'm going to try to do this in under 20. All right, 2 platforms here. Which one's best for you? The uses of them, and what you need to think about when you're considering one of these. A couple scenarios that obviously people would be consider buying an assault weapon are the end of the world, a world without rule of law, what hits the fan, or home defense. And all of those are valid reasons to go out and look for one of these. But what else is a valid reason? Just because you want one, because you have the right to go out and get one. But for the purposes of this video, let's talk about the different purposes that you might, or the different things you might look at to fill the need of a specific purpose. And for the sake of this video, I have obviously two rifles here. This is an AR-15, this is an AK-47, and for all intents and purposes, most of the AR-15s you find are going to be chambered in this, which is a 5.56 millimeter by, or 223 round. That's the diameter of the actual bullet. And most AKs are going to be chambered in this, which is a 7.62 millimeter, which is basically a 30 caliber round. Now, that being said, there's going to be a lot of people that say, well, I have an AR that's in a 6.5, or I have an AR that's in a 300 blackout, or I have an AR-10 that's a 7.62 by 51. So yeah, there is different calibers in both of these platforms, but by far and away, if somebody's talking to you in a gun shop about AR or AK, they're probably talking about the 5.56 and the 7.62. So right off the bat, you can see that there's quite a bit of size difference in the round that these rifles utilize. Pros and cons to both of them. We can get into that a little bit, but I want to stick first to the functionality of how these things operate. What makes them different than, let's say, a bolt-action rifle or even a semi-automatic handgun. And that difference is primarily going to be the operating system of that gun. And right here we have examples of two different operating systems, and I want to get into them a little bit. I've stripped the handguards off the AR just because they're kind of difficult to snap on and off, and I certainly don't want to try to do it on camera. So normally this would have handguards right here. They kind of look similar to this, but I took them off to show you the operating system in this. Starting at the butt of the gun on both of them. Obviously, they're both adjustable stocks, and this is going to be kind of an accessory item when you pick out your rifle. You can get a folding stock, you can get a collapsible stock, you can get all the accessories are literally endless on both of these platforms. I would say the AR has more accessories available to it, but there's certainly no shortage of things you can do with the AK. Moving forward, past the buttstock, we get into a pistol grip, and usually that's a sure sign of something that's considered an assault rifle, is it's going to have a pistol grip on it. Helps with your ability to operate that weapon more efficiently, and it's actually a lot more, for me anyway, more comfortable to shoot something with a pistol grip than it is just a standard Monte Carlo style rifle stock. All right, so from this point forward is when things really change between an AR and an AK. I'm going to start with the AR-15, and by the way, my so-called expert, or my expertise to make this video, let me say right now, I am not an expert on either one of these. I do have a lot of experience, a lot of trigger time, tens of thousands of rounds with an AR or an AR platform, and thousands of rounds with an AK, and a thirst for knowledge on both of these platforms, the development of them, the history of them, and that has led me to amass a little bit of knowledge on both of them. And thanks to you, the people of this country, our government spent quite a good deal of money training me on this weapon, on this platform right here, when I was in the Army. So of the two, I'm certainly more of an expert in the AR. I've taken it apart, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times, and can break this down to its base components, and am not afraid of any of the so-called complex components that make up an AR-15, both in semi-automatic or in fully automatic. So from a perspective of what I've been trained on and what I know, I would gravitate towards an AR just because it's, I have been trained on it. I have used it. I've carried it into combat. I know it's a reliable platform, and it's dependable, and it's comfortable, it's familiar. There's this confidence I have when I pick it up because I know what it's going to do. And, unfortunately, when something goes amiss or there's some kind of a technical issue with it, I'm completely confident that I'll be able to resolve it in a very timely manner. The AK, the beauty of it as a choice is somebody who has no training whatsoever on any kind of gun, be it bolt gun, lever action, pump action, hunting rifle, sporting shotgun, or assault rifle. If you have no experience on anything, you can become extremely proficient on this platform. And by that, I mean you're able to operate it, you're able to clear malfunctions, and you're able to field strip it. You can probably become an expert to that level, to be proficient, far easier than you would be able to become proficient with, let's say, a semi-automatic handgun. I would say that the average person that has an interest in guns, or that that is developed an interest in guns and wants to get into an AK, within a day of any kind of training, they would be able to take this gun, take it apart, field strip it down to the level of being able to maintain it. Within a day, they would be, basically as educated and as trained as a conscript soldier in the former Eastern Bloc countries. So by that respect, the AK might be a weapons system that would interest you. So again, if you want one, you want some home defense, you want something in case the world comes to a crashing in, and you have to defend yourself and your loved ones, but you don't want to invest a bunch of time and a bunch of your brain power in figuring the thing out, maybe the AK is the way to go. All right, let's get into the operating system on them. Both of them are gas operated. And the reason I'm doing this, like I said, you get on YouTube, you start hunting around for videos, and you see things like that one I played at the beginning here, although I think that was a joke. I hope that was a joke. But most channels that you go to where they're talking, there's a if it's an AK-AR debate, it's a versus situation. I love ARs, and this is why they beat AK. Or AK versus AR, this is why it's better, because you can drive a tank over it and the thing's still going to fire. It seems to be there's always somebody's personal feelings are wrapped up in their presentation. Myself, I will tell you straight up, I've already told you that I'm more comfortable grabbing this because I'm thoroughly trained on it. However, I own one of these, and I own three of these, and I will tell anybody who asks me, this gun, to me, is far funner to go out and do some shooting. If I want to go spend a few hours shooting, I'm probably going to grab my AK because it's a blast, and the ammunition, the ammunition that it'll fire is any, and it is actually quite a bit less expensive. All right, that being said, they're both gas operated systems. If you walk into a sporting goods store and you hear somebody talking about gas operated, they could be talking about an AR-15, or they could be talking about an AK-47. They're both gas operated, but they're just different gas operations that happen in these guns. So what we have with the AR-15, it's called a direct gas impingement. And what happens is, let's say from here back, these things are basically the same. They've got a bolt, they've got a bolt carrier, they've got a spring. This has a buffer spring. So from here back, they're kind of functioning the same way. They're going to chamber around, they're going to eject around. But what happens when that bullet is fired, things change a little bit. On the AR, it's going to go down this barrel. Obviously, the bullet's going to go down the barrel. When it gets to this point here, let me make sure this is showing up on camera. I'll slide this down a bit. Oops. When we get to this point here on the AR, this is called the gas block. And what happens is, as the bullet passes, excess gas is forced up a channel and then down this stainless steel tube right here that is called, ironically enough, the gas tube. And this hot gas, this expanding hot gas, flies down this tube at great heat and great pressure, and then comes in contact with a part on the top of this bolt that channels gas down literally inside the bolt and pushes the whole thing backward. When it goes backwards, it ejects the spent cartridge, picks up a new one, and chambers it. So this is called a direct gas impingement system, meaning gas is coming directly in contact with the bolt. And it has advantages and it has disadvantages. The AK-47 has a system that is also a gas-operated system. However, it doesn't use, can we see this? Let me push this back. I'm going to take this apart a little bit so we can get a good idea. Okay, so what happens here, let me make sure you can see all this okay. In our AK-101 gas piston system is the same thing. A bullet is chambered, a round is chambered, it is fired, the bullet flies down, expanding gas, excess gas, comes up into this gas block. See, they both have the same or a similar type gas block, but instead of coming into a gas tube, it goes into a gas tube that houses what is called a gas piston. And that is this big boy right here. And what happens is gas comes through this tube, interacts with the head of that piston, and it pushes the whole assembly back. This spring is inside here and controls the recoil and then pushes it back forward after the cycle, the stroke is complete. So what you have is an extra component basically, which is this gas piston. And it has advantages and disadvantages. So let's get into them real quick. You're shopping for an AR, AK. You're shopping for an assault rifle. And you got direct gas impingement and you have a piston system. Now, again, just like the ammunition, this is probably a generic overview of both of these. Most AR platforms you see are going to have a direct gas impingement, and pretty much I think all AK platforms are going to have a gas piston system. This system is absolutely fantastic. I love it. I think it's, in all reality, I think it's a better system than a direct gas impingement. And I think old Kalashnikov got it right, and the Russians got it right when they stole the idea from the Germans, and they put it into their AKs. The differences between the two, obviously they both operate on gas. The differences are this direct gas impingement is taking extremely hot gas under high pressure, and along with all the fouling that is that occurs when you're burning gunpowder, and blows it all back right in here to this bolt. And when it does, I mean, this gas is thousands of degrees, and it is going into that bolt. This is getting extremely hot. The bolt gets really hot. This whole upper receiver, and in some cases, if you're firing enough, the lower receiver becomes very, very hot, which can lead to malfunction. The advantage of a direct gas impingement system is obviously if we could take this little tiny stainless steel tube out, it weighs almost nothing, and this thing weighs, from here forward, weighs quite a bit. So it adds weight to the system. Also, a difference is the rate of fire. Now, it's kind of irrelevant with this because unless you're going to go out and get special licensing, you're not going to get a fully automatic one anyway. But in both of these versions, fully automatic, there's certainly a difference in the cycling rate, the cyclic rate of fire. The AR-15 or the M4 or M16 in a fully automatic, not a burst type weapon, is going to run anywhere between 800 and 900 rounds per minute. That's the cyclic rate. On AK-47, it's about 600 rounds a minute. So this direct gas impingement is producing a higher rate of fire, but it's producing a lot more heat and a lot more filthiness that flies right back into this receiver. The gas piston system, it's adding weight to it, but because all the heat is hitting the gas piston here and pushing it back, this gas is never really coming in contact with the bolt or the carrier for that matter. So you can fire this thing, round after round through it and still have a relatively cool bolt. You're going to get the less heat you have, the less chance for a malfunction, and that lends a lot to the AK-47's infamous or notorious, whatever the proper word would be, reliability. They're definitely reliable. That being said, so you have your advantages, disadvantages. This is going to be a lighter system. It's going to be a little bit heavier. This technically, and everybody you talk to, every gun guide, every gun counter across this country is going to tell you that the AK-47, and especially if they're a pro AK-47 guy, they're going to tell you it's the only way to go. It will survive, a nuclear holocaust. It will survive everything. The only thing that's going to be around are cockroaches and AK-47s. Well, that might be true. I mean, these things can take a lot of abuse and keep on ticking. But I'm here to tell you, I've carried this weapon, like I said, into combat. I've had this one here for several years and put tens of thousands around through it. In general, tens of thousands around through the platform. And the truth of the matter is, I don't do ridiculous amount of maintenance like an armorer would do, but I break it down and I clean it and I put it back in the gun safe, and it's ready to go for the next time I use it. And in all the rounds I fired on this, and all the rounds I fired in my M203 when I was in the Army, I never had one failure to feed. I've never had one failure to extract. I've never had one malfunction that I can recall, other than two exceptions. And both of those exceptions were in this weapon firing this right here, which, just a side note, I mean, this is a 5.56 NATO round, but it's a Russian-made one, and it's a steel case rather than brass case. And because the tolerances are much tighter in an AR, it has an issue sometimes feeding steel ammunition, or basically ammunition that this gun wasn't designed for. So there's the key word, designed for, what it's meant for. If you treat this gun with the respect that the manufacturer intended you to, which is, regular maintenance, not ridiculous amount of maintenance, but regular maintenance on it, cleaning it and making sure that you're running the recommended ammunition through it, you're not going to have a problem with it, even though all this hot gas is blowing back, and even though it fouls quicker because of the gas blowing right into the upper receiver. You're just not going to have an issue with it. It is a proven platform that's used all over the world. And guess what? There's a lot of dead people around because of the AR platform. It's just a very much proven weapon. The AK-47, yes, this operating system is absolutely, it seems to be almost flawless, at least my experience with it and the people that fall in love with them, and friends of mine who love them and would absolutely never... They would walk over 50 ARs to get to one crappy Yugoslavian-made AK. And, so be it. That's fine. I personally believe that this is reliable and this is reliable. I do believe that the things that would still push me towards an AR is this can be the most reliable weapon on the planet. But if it's difficult to operate, and by difficult I mean time-consuming, and I mean... having to become proficient at something that doesn't seem natural, then I think it has some shortcomings. First of all, let me talk and slide this back together at the same time. I believe when the AR was designed, that it was designed with ease of operation and speed. I mean, it seems like everything that's AR is speed oriented. The bullet flies faster, the cyclic rate's faster, it's faster to change magazines. So when I think of an AR, I think of like a sports model car, and when I think of AK, I think of a truck that's going to be out there, hauling the loads and always being durable and that kind of thing. I wanted to put it back together at least this far so I can show you some of the issues that I'm talking about. First of all, on the AK, once you have loaded it, once you've fired it, well, let's talk about loading it. This is a full magazine, but I'm not going to charge it. But when you go to load this, it doesn't have this little device here. This is called a magazine well, and this makes it soldier-proof. It is beyond simple to take this magazine, slide it into this square hole, punch it on the bottom, and it's going to click into place every single time. You're not going to have an issue with your magazines getting hung up ever in an AR-15. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's possible to try to install one backwards. Yeah, you can't even do that. So, I mean, it's virtually idiot-proof. You pump it in, you hit the bottom of it, it's going to click into place. Positive click, it's in place. Now the AK is a little different animal altogether. You don't have a magazine well. You basically have a magazine cutout. And that magazine cutout accepts, obviously, the AK magazine, which is, kind of a banana shape, especially in the 7.62 39. The aggressive nature of the taper of the bullet necessitates this shape of the magazine. And you can't just shove it in there. It ain't going to just shove in there like it would with an AR-15. If you try to do that, you're going to get what's called mag lock, which I just accidentally did on purpose right there. So you got locked in there, and it ain't moving. What are you going to do? The only thing you can do is smack on it to get it backwards and knock the magazine across your desk. So you get mag lock. And now that was obviously a exaggeration of it, but it was truly the mag was locked up, and that can be an issue if your life depends on it. I mean, to put this in, you gotta set it in and then roll it, and it'll click into place. Easy enough, but if you're sitting there firing and firing for your life, that's something that you better train on so you can quickly and efficiently, and efficiently more than quickly, and by efficient I mean doing it without getting mag lock or without holding up or gumming up your operation. To take it out, you have to push this lever forward and roll that out at the same time. Roll it out just the exact way you rolled it in. On an AR, it's a whole different ball game. You have your magazine, you pop it in. Like I said, you get a positive lock on it. It's not going anywhere. When you're done firing it, you simply push this button that's right here. This is a mag release button, and guess what? It just falls right out. Piece of cake. You pop your new one in, and when you do, when it's in there, the bolt has already stayed back because it does on your last round. It stays back just like that. And you put in a new magazine, you push this button, the bolt closes, and you're ready to continue firing. On the AK, when you fire your last round, the bolt doesn't stay back. It comes slamming forward. You get your magazine out, you get a new one in, and then you have to cock the weapon. And guess what? If you're a right-handy, like most people are, you're taking your fire hand off and pulling it there. Now, there's AK guys out there right now who are freaking out because this isn't the cool way to cock your AK-47. Hope we can get this in here. The cool way is to reach around and charge it like that, which is all well and good. It looks cool, and it is an efficient way to do it, but most people haven't been through Spetsnaz training facility and spent years and years and years developing the proper technique for changing out mags quickly. So when you go to the range and you see guys who have AKs because the guy at the gun counter said, this is what you got to have because it's reliable till the end, and it's the only way to go. ARs are notoriously inefficient or unreliable, and they don't have the stopping power. And you'll see guys at the range fumbling around with magazines or having mag lock. And again, in a range situation, who cares? These rounds are cheap. The magazines are cheap. If you break one, if you bust one, so what? It's $10 for a new one. But if you're picking this thing up because you are concerned about your family safety or your safety, well, you got 30 rounds, and hopefully you're proficient in putting another 30 in there, because if you're not, and the other guy is, you're dead. This is, like I said, again, foolproof. This magazine's going in and it's coming out. You're pushing buttons. It's very intuitive, and the functions are all right there at your fingertips where they feel like they should be. Even your safety and your fire selector is right there where your thumb can grab it. So this is a lot more comfortable weapon to operate. All right. So all that being said, your primary differences are going to be the operating system, and then you get into some of the functionality. And to me, the only functionality, major difference, is how these things are loaded and how they're cocked, which we just covered there. Definitely things if I were not trained on either one of these, and somebody, or I was asking advice of somebody that was, I think this would be information that would be very critical for their decision. Not saying that either one, you should run with this because you're not going to be able to figure this out. That isn't true. But if you pick up an AK, the little amount of time that it's going to take you to learn how to disassemble it and field strip it and clean it and maintain it, that's great. But just know that you're going to have more time learning how to operate it properly. And at the end of the day, this ability to operate this thing is every bit as critical as maintaining it. In fact, more critical. You need to be able to get ammunition in, get empty magazines out, and then repeat the process if you hope to use it for its intended purposes of protecting yourself or protecting your family. So again, I have no preference. I own this. I own 3 of these. I love them all. I grab this every time I want to go plinking. I feel that the AR-15 has a very bad rap on its reliability. I believe it's every bit as reliable as an AK. It's just, and I'm not basing this on a cool YouTube channel I saw or a 20-year-old kid behind a gun counter at the local sports emporium. I'm basing this on my practical experience with both of these. I feel that they're both extremely reliable, and as far as reliability, I would pick up either one of them. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the myth of accuracy and the AK-47. Like I said, I have 3 of these. I have 2 of them have this rail on the side here, which is you can slide a mount on there for an optic, similar to the one I have up on the AR. And I'm not the greatest shooter in the world, but I can shoot, and I feel that on a bench rest with sandbags, it should give me a good general idea of accuracy, comparing these two, shooting one right after the other, And in some cases, I have an AK that's chambered in the same round as the AR-15. I'm literally shooting the exact same ammunition out of the exact same box between the two weapons. And I can tell you from personal experience that my arsenal that fires a 5.56 is at 100 yards every bit as accurate as this AR-15. I don't think it's any more accurate, but it's certainly not less accurate. I'm able to get about 1.25 to 1.5 inch group with both of them at 100 yards. Now, I haven't done any kind of practical test out to 500 yards or so, but I have no reason to believe that that particular AK and this AR are going to perform the same. This is a Romanian brand, M plus M10 AK, and it's certainly a lot lesser quality than my arsenal. And by that I mean you can tell by the fit and the finish. It's a little bit more rattly, which is kind of a good thing with an AK, but it's not as finely made as my arsenal brand. But even it, when I put a scope on it, is getting the 1.5 inch groups at 100 yard. So the myth is that AKs can't hit the broadside of the barn. And in fact, you can watch like History Channel specials on the two guns, and they'll straight up tell you that they'll show a scenario where there's a man-sized target at 200 yards, and they're using iron sights, and the AR is putting all on paper, and the AK, one is barely nicking the corner of it. And that might not be true. It might be the sight. The sights suck on an AK. It's a very short radius, and it's just a little blade sight. There's a peep sight on the standard on the AR, which is a much better iron sight. But I think if you're like me, I'm not a fan of iron sights regardless. I like the optic on there, and the stuff that's being imported now and then Americanized by some of our import companies. I absolutely think they're just as accurate as ARs. So there's AR guys freaking out about me saying that, and there's AK guys freaking out me saying that the AR is just as reliable. Again, this isn't me taking the advice of someone I know. This is me, or taking the opinion of someone I know. This is me telling you my practical experience with both of them, and telling you what I think that you should consider when you're stepping up to that counter to buy them. I have had with Craig Simpson, our producer over at Doomcast, long discussions, because he does a lot of 3-gun competition, long discussions about what one would we pick at the end of the world type of a deal. And he's a massive AK lover, but like me, he has military experience, and he is thoroughly trained in the AR, and he loves his AR and he loves his AK. And personally for him, he would take his arsenal high-end milled receiver AK into battle because he likes the big chunky fatty bullet, and he also likes the fact of the reliability of it. I don't think that's a wrong choice. I just think it's not a choice I would make. I like the functionality and the ergonomics and the feel, and the fact that I feel completely confident when I pick up an AR-15. One other thing to consider, and then I want to move into, we're at 38 minutes, wow. One other thing I want to talk about, and then move into purposes for them, and are they even something you want to consider if your purpose is home defense, is one other consideration is, what are you going to do if it hits the fan, if it's war without rule of law, and you have one of these? You need to consider beforehand, not after, do you have something that you are going to be able to find ammunition for, easily accessible, and then use it in your gun. With the AR-15, NATO, that is their round, 5.56. That is the round that it shoots, and it is ubiquitous, meaning it is absolutely everywhere. Everywhere from a 30-cent round on up to a $1 round match grade, you can find AR-15 ammunition. That being said, if you are in a situation where it's temperamental or suspect quality or even lesser quality ammunition, my experience has been, even though I've only had 2 jams out of tens of thousands, or 10,000 plus rounds, it's because of the ammunition. It was a steel case rather than a brass case, and I believe that was the cause of it. Where the AK is pretty much going to fire anything that you can fit into the chamber. It's just, it's reliable when it comes to being able to process any kind of input you manage to load into the chamber, be it brass, be it steel, be it Chinese, be it Russian, be it U.S. manufacturers. You're going to find it. The difference being, of course, that we don't fire. Our military does not fire this round. This is a Russian round. This ammunition is literally from Russia. Yes, manufacturers in the U.S. make it. It's fairly expensive when you buy it from U.S. manufacturers, and it's not like 5.56 or 223 in that they produce mass quantities of this round, of the 223 round. The 5.56 or the 7.62 is made. It just isn't made in the volume. Now, right now, it's not really an issue. You can go down to any sporting goods store and buy 100 count boxes for whatever, $30 a box, AK rounds, and it's no problem. But we all know the talk of Russian ammo ban, and some of their material has been banned. So it is certainly something to consider. That doesn't mean you can't have an AK if you are scared of that 7.62 round or being able to find it in the end of days type of scenario, because you can buy an AK chambered in this. Like I said, I own one. I have an AK that's chambered in a 5.56. You can get an AK that's chambered in a 7.62 by 51, which is a NATO round, which is a 308 in our standardization of calibers. Another very ubiquitous round. So if you like the AK platform and you like a bigger round, you can get it. You don't necessarily have to get it in the 7.62 by 39, which is that round right there. I don't know that will ever be a problem. This gun in this caliber, literally there's millions of them in the United States, and there's probably billions of these rounds in the United States. The only thing I'm really saying there is there's more of 5.56. By the same token, if you want an AR, but you don't want the pipsqueak round of the 55 grain 5.56, well, you can get that. You can get this in a 30 cal. It's called a 300 blackout. You can get it to one that fires that caliber. If you want the bigger 308 round, you can do that. It's an AR-10, and it's a bigger, heavier gun that costs quite a bit more. But you can get an AR platform that shoots a bigger round. But generally speaking, talking in this video and what you're going to find in most cases, this is what you're going to see: 5.56, 7.62. These are the standards in them, these are probably the choices you're going to be faced if you're looking to walk into a place and pick one up and not spend $1 billion. Last thing on these before I switch to home defense type weapon use is the cost. What are you going to pay? A few years ago, if anybody asked me which is a cheaper platform to get in, I'd say, well, without a doubt, the AK, it's cheap. You can pick one up for $500-600 and rock out with it. Well, that's kind of true now. I mean, and just checking before I sat down to do this video, and of course, any city I go to, which is many of them across the country, I go into gun stores when I'm staying at the hotel and I have nothing else to do at night. I'm going to go look at guns. And AKs they've gone up in price. I mean, for this one 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I paid, I believe, $690. It's an OK brand, or OK, Romanian AK-47. And today you're going to have a hard time finding anything that is less than $700 for even a decent brand. Now you might be able to find aftermarket or somebody sell them one used for less than that. But honestly, if you can find an AK-47 and it's less than $600, then that should make your decision, because that's going to be a rare find indeed. So AR-15s, on the other hand, a few years ago when there was a big scare, we were going to ban them. You were seeing a stock basic AR-15. They were pushing $1,000 or more in some cases. And it seems, if you look at numbers now, the prices have definitely come down on them. And you can go in and buy a stock AR-15 in some places, for that same $700, $699, $750, in that ballpark. So if price consideration is something that you're going to use to determine an AR versus an AK, I'm sorry to tell you that isn't going to help you very much, because in essence, I think you're going to be paying just about the same either way. You might be less still overall on average with an AK, but if it's more than $100, I would be very, very surprised. The accessories and things that go with them, I still think there's a definite advantage for AK. The components and the aftermarket accessories you can get, I think, are still far less expensive for an AK, or at least there are far less expensive ones available than there are an AR. But then again, you know, you're getting what you pay for. So there you go. In a nutshell, 38 minutes to tell you that, you know, don't be hesitant. I know it's intimidating when you talk to somebody about guns and you know nothing about them, especially if you're in a store, especially if it's a weekend, especially if there's 15 other people at the counter and you're asking to, you know, hold the AR and then hold the AK and then, you know, afraid to ask questions because you're afraid you're going to look like a fool. Well, you know what? This is a really important decision, and questions, you know, they don't hurt anybody, so go ahead and ask them. But in a nutshell, your two systems, in my opinion, are equally reliable if you do basic maintenance on both of them. Not more on this than this, but basic maintenance on both of them. I think your reliability is going to be there either way. Functionality, I think the AR is superior functionality-wise to an AK. The magazines go in easier, they come out easier. You can reload, rechamber around faster than you can with an AK. So I think it wins out on functionality. As far as you know, the operating system being gas impingement or gas piston, I think the AK beats the AR in that. This bolt isn't going to get hot. You're not going to have malfunctions due to that heat, and the tolerances being with AR and an AK, you know, it's a little bit sloppier, so it's going to be able to take more gas blowing through this gas tube, and if it does get into the works, it's not going to cause you that much of a problem. It's going to run regardless, you know, pretty much regardless of how dirty it gets because of firing. But don't let that mislead you, because you have people tell you, I took the dust cover off and I put a gallon of spray foam insulation in there and that thing fired just fine, like it wasn't even there. That is not true. I mean, you know, this is still, you know, even though it's not as precise as an AR, it is still a machine, and the machine still needs to be oiled, or it still needs to be clean, it still needs to be maintained in order to function properly. So there's maintenance on both of them. They're both going to be reliable. Gas impingement, going to get hot, but you're saving in some weight. Again, thousands of rounds, no problems with it unless it was an ammunition-related issue. Accuracy, I think, is on a modern AK that you're going to buy is going to be at least, I think, at par with the AR, so I won't let that dissuade you. And price is going to be really close to the same. So I guess in all, there's not much guidance in this video other than if you want to go with cool factor, well, they're both kind of cool too. I mean, you could pimp one of these out till till 3 weeks from Sunday, and they're both going to look really cool. But you know, let your heart guide you. Now, if somebody walked up and said, which one would you go with? Like if Craig Simpson and I in our discussions, the simple fact that, you know, that our government spent money to get me proficient in this, and I've shot, you know, probably 10 times the amount of rounds out of one of these, and I have one of these. The fact that even if I'm scared crapless because somebody's shooting at me, I'm not going to fumble the magazine. I'm not going to have a mag lock. I'm not going to have an issue trying to cock it or chamber around. I'm heavily in favor of the AR for those basic reasons, but that is me, and that is not necessarily you. If you're starting from scratch, I think this is probably an easier platform to learn the basic function of it, and with practice, you know, you can become like a Spetsnaz and kick a mag out with your replacement one, and use your offhand underneath and look real cool doing it. You know, I think it might be a good choice. So, which brings me to minute 48 of my epic video here, and I appreciate anybody who's hung out this long. Home defense. I'm gonna make this brief, short and sweet. These, in my opinion, neither one of these are a good home defense alternative. If your goal is home defense, so you want to protect your family, protect yourself from somebody breaking in, taking what you got, and this is all going to happen in the confines of your property, or, you know, very near your property at distances that are, you know, not rifle distances. Let's say 75 feet or less, you know, and the police say that a person is engaged in a gun battle in their home, it's going to happen at a distance of about 7 yards, or 21 feet Yeah, that's 7 yards or 21 feet. And in both cases, this rifle and this rifle, this is not good. This is not good for these. If you have a burglar or a rapist or somebody trying to steal your MREs coming in your house and you want to plug them with one of these, guess what? You know, unless it's a spine shot or it's in the forehead, they're going to keep doing whatever they were doing when that bullet entered their system. They might die from it, and they might die within a few minutes of it. But you know, this AR is just going to pop right through them, and the AK is going to pop right through them. I mean, you're talking nearly 3,000 feet a minute, and nearly, you know, and over 2,000 feet a minute. You know, 75 feet, 100 feet, it's going to be through them, and on the other side, they're going to be, you know, seconds full of adrenaline pumped anxiety moments that fill the air while this intruder is trying to figure out if they're going to shoot you, stab you, or flee. You know, will it get the job done? Absolutely. You know, you obviously see SWAT and other law enforcement using these to kill people all the time. But in my opinion, is it a good home defender? Not at all. In fact, it's a crappy home defender. I don't want to kill my family member on the other side of the wall. I don't want to kill my neighbor when this round goes through the perpetrator, through the wall, through the house across the street, and hits their dog. You know, I don't want that worry on my mind. So let me show you a $150 alternative to both of these that is superior to both of these in home defense. Yeah, that's right. I said it. So if you're a crazed AR or AK lover and think that the only thing you can defend your home with is something with a pistol grip that is black and has a 30-round magazine, I'm going to tell you right now that, yeah, that'll work, but this is going to do a better job, and it's going to do a more efficient job, and it's going to stop the perpetrator a whole lot quicker than either one of these. Virtually, if you're using the right ammunition, in their tracks, fall in a heap, game over, discussion over, crisis situation over with this $150 Mossberg 20-gauge shotgun. In my opinion, this is the most deadly handheld weapon on the planet, because even a fully automatic, you know, MP5 or fully automatic M4 pumping, you know, 900 rounds a minute is not going to be able to do anywhere near the damage that this $150 shotgun is going to do with one trigger pull. You know, and what I'm speaking of is, you know, a round such as this that you might have for your home defense. This is a double-aught buck, and I'm not really sure. This is in 12 gauge, but this is my home defense gun. And like I said, I have 3 AKs, 1 AR, thousands of rounds, you know, scores of magazines at the ready. But if you know, someone's kicking in my door and I got to defend myself, I'm grabbing this. I'm grabbing my $150 shotgun, because those steel or those lead balls in there, 20 plus of them, are going to short circuit any kind of attempt to do bodily harm to myself or my family without the issues of worrying about overpenetration, going through my house and into the neighbor's house. It's just a lot more efficient round for that purpose, and a lot more fail-safe. You don't have to aim this, really. You know, I would never recommend it, but you're going to be able to achieve a hip shot, life-ending wound to a perpetrator or an assailant or a rapist or a criminal with ease with this round right here. You don't even have to go, you know, something that extreme, which is going to put, you know, a football-sized hole in somebody. This is just a standard number 4 shot pheasant load lead shot that you know, I use hunting, and it's in 12 gauge also. This is made for taking down bigger game birds, but this right here would you know, virtually cut someone in half. You know, I know it's kind of gruesome to talk about, but when we're talking home defense, that's what we're dealing with. Is we got to stop somebody. We need to stop them instantly. Whatever they're doing is obviously life endangering to you and your family. This is going to get it done. This is not. This might kill them, but it's certainly not going to stop them in their tracks, again, unless it's a miraculous headshot, spine shot, and you've had years of special forces training to make sure that you know, your muscle memory is always causing you to make that kind of a shot. This is going to get it done, and it's simple, it's easy, it's reliable, and it's $150. So some people are going to say, well, geez, Charlie, look at the size of this thing. I got to clear rooms in my apartment, and how am I going to clear rooms like I'm in SWAT with this thing that's, you know, that's 48 inches long? All right, well, that's not a horrible argument. I mean, it is kind of big. You're not going to spin it, and it's kind of a little bit unwieldy. But there's certainly an answer to that, and that would be this right here. This is a tactical shotgun, and it's tactical because I call it that. And you can see them on the shelves at your local whatever mart. And the only thing that makes it tactical, in my opinion, is it has a longer tube magazine and a shorter barrel. So really, this thing's not much good for hunting. I mean, you could hunt with it, but the longer barrel is going to, or the shorter barrel is going to give you a very broad pattern quickly, not conducive to hunting. But the shorter length, I mean, literally, you can't see the whole thing in camera here, but it is virtually, well, with the buttstock extended on the AR, it's the same length, and on the AK, it's the exact same length as well. So, you know, this is the same length as your AR or your AK. You're going to be able to negotiate your, you know, your corners and be all tactical with it. And you know, I put an ammo caddy on the side of it here, so I can have my, you know, home defense rounds just plugged right in there. And if I need them, I can, you know, I store this with the chamber open, so I can just drop them in, and kabam, the game is over. To me, and again, this is a Remington 870 knockoff. It's not even a real Remington 870. It's made by, I don't even know, Partner Pump, made by H&R, Partner Pardner, Partner Pump, 12 gauge, and it's modeled after an 870, and it's an exact duplicate. In fact, so much so, I put this Magpul pumps hand guard and stock on it, not because it makes it more effective as a home invasion thwart device. It just makes it look cool, and that's kind of what I wanted. So the stock, the gun, I paid $159 for, and I think I paid that much for the, you know, for the stock and for the slide. Certainly the black composite ones that it came with are every bit as functional as what I put on here. So home defense, protecting what you got in a world without rule of law. All the channels in the world are going to tell you how cool it is to go out and run and gun and shoot steel and shoot 5,000 rounds a weekend on your AR, your AK. And I agree, that's a blast and fun, and a battle rifle is designed for battle. But if you're not looking for battle, if you're looking to keep what you got, and prevent people from hurting you or your loved ones or your family, especially if in this economy with the jobs that are there, the falling middle class, the collapsing middle class, the falling wages, if you don't have a bunch of money to go buy this stuff, you know, you don't have $800 to drop on one, and then to be proficient at it, you know, spending $100 a month in ammunition, but you still want something that's more effective in that role, this guy right here, $150, you know, buy a couple boxes of cheap low base ammunition, go out, learn how to function this thing, learn how to shoot it. And if your goal is to have a home defender, build up a little muscle memory using this thing, and you are the most awesome, wickedest home defender that there is out there. So that's my opinion on the role of home defense. I hate to see people get suckered into, I gotta have this because the guy on YouTube with the cool foregrip and the walking in through corners and arm extended fully and being all tactical and wearing his camo, he's got his new digicam on and looking real good. That's not what you have to be in order to get into this. You can do it inexpensively, you can do it smartly, and you can do it in a way that makes sense for you and makes sense for your family, and can protect you in any and all situations. Once again, I'm a huge Second Amendment guy, And you don't need a reason to own any of this stuff. In fact, I think it is your duty as an American to exercise your Second Amendment and your First Amendment, and to go out there and get whatever you want, whatever you can afford, and enjoy the hell out of it. But if you're just beginning and you're just looking for information on basic how these things operate and what they're good and what they're not good for, in my opinion, I hope this video was helpful to you.